Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coravon's headquarters here in Massachusetts. We have an incredibly special event today. First of all, this is about Mother's Day, and what better way to celebrate your mother or the mother in your life, the mother of your kids, or the mother of your grandkids than to cook an incredible meal and serve it with some really spectacular wine. So I'm going to be joined today by my two favorite Daniels, Chef Daniel Boulud, who I will call Chef from here on out because he very much deserves that respect. Owner and master of multiple restaurants, including in my fair city here in Boston, Massachusetts. But if you haven't been to Daniel in New York or Bar Boulud in London or in Singapore or here in Boston, you are missing out. The food is incredible. The wine pairings are amazing as well. And he's going to be preparing for us 3 very special meals that you can cook at home. We're going to be posting them on coravon.com/Mother's Day. So you can find everything there. And what better to go with food, as Chef knows, than a great pairing of wines. So we are also joined by chefs, wine director, Daniel Johnnes, who is also, of course, the famed founder of La Paulée here in the United States, both New York and San Francisco. If you have not been to La Paulée, you have not lived. One requirement: you gotta like Burgundy, and you gotta like people, and you gotta like talking and having fun. So, I mean, there is no better pair of people to perfect a really loving meal prepared for the mother in your life. I wanted to also say that we at Coravon are obviously going to be part of this. Daniel Johnnes is going to be serving 2 different pairings per course, which is something that I do at home. So you can see what the differences are and what pairs well with which aspects of the food. No better person to talk you through it. But also what we're doing at Coravon is we're going to be raising money for Chef's charity. Chef has a charity, Hand in Hand, that's set up to try to help the restaurant industry past this devastating impact of COVID-19. There's nobody that's been affected more than the restaurants, as you can imagine, and bars around the country than the restaurants bars. COVID-19 has been devastating. So Hand in Hand at his charity. And so if you go to Coravon and you enter in the promo code of CC, that's just letter C, Hand in Hand, all one word, will give you 10% off. And we're going to send 15% to Chef's Foundation. One other thing to notice, and then I'm going to back off because these guys are amazing, is Daniel Johnnes, DJ, has been doing an amazing thing. If you haven't caught it yet, pressoir.wine, online, follow them, Instagram, follow them everywhere you can. You're going to learn a ton. pressoir.wine. Look it up. It is one of the best ways to spend your time during lockdown. Ask your friends and your family to join this conversation. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be corvining a bunch of glasses along with these guys while they're tasting and talking. Feel free to ask questions along the way. People are going to be forwarding those questions to me, so I see them. And at the right times, I'm going to be asking DJ and Chef the questions that you have that are most burning. So visit coravon.com/Mother's Day, and you will find all the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chef. Cheers, everyone. And pour myself a glass of wine. This is a good pause while we're looking for Chef.
Yeah.
So this is my level 6, and this is Daniel's first wine. It's not to steal his thunder, but it's I am a fan. Yeah. There we go. Hello, Chef.
Who said that I was not here?
It's great to be in your kitchen, Chef.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you hear me, everyone?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
I have the majestic machine, and I'm thirsty. I'm so thirsty. Let me, Daniel, what is the first wine we're having first?
Here, I think I'm muted.
Oh no, you're good. We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. All right, great. So the first one. But first, what I would like to say is, in honor of Mother's Day, I'd like to evoke a phrase that Daniel sometimes applies to me. And I'm very honored by it. But he says, Daniel, or DJ, he calls me, you're my brother from another mother. That's how I think of you also, Daniel. You're my brother from another mother. Okay, the first wine, you want me to go? Or
Love you, DJ.
Huh? You got to talk about the
green.
dish.
I am green. Is that a good sign?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to talk
Good
about the wine.
Good afternoon, everyone. And
There you go. Bullseye.
welcome to.
Oh, just tip it further, chef. You'll be good. Nice and steep.
Yes.
There you go.
So welcome to our webinar with Daniel Johnnes and myself. We are, oh, superb. I'm pouring a Vouvray, and that's going to go with my first course.
Okay.
Cheers.
You talk about the dish. I'll get to the wine in just a minute.
You want to talk about the dish? So I am preparing a vichyssoise. So a vichyssoise is, of course, it's a very simple soup. It's a very humble soup. It only takes leeks and potatoes. And I like to play with my vichyssoise and give it a note of sometimes different flavor with it. And sorry. And here we're going to do a vichyssoise with cucumber and dill and smoked salmon. And so for that, you eat a little bit of oil, a little bit of olive oil. Let me grab a nice knife. So Daniel, what did you want to serve a Vouvray with my vichyssoise?
Well, I have two wines actually.
So I have cucumber.
I have
so I want to say with the leeks. Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's hear what you did.
You have two wines with the vichyssoise?
Yeah, I have two wines.
Yeah,
so
let me start quickly.
So,
so what I do is the leeks, I take the white part and the soft green, and I will chop it to sweat it first. And then I take the green part and also the peel of the cucumber. Here I peel the cucumber and I seed them. And that I will cook it toward the end with some dill inside as well. So this goes just at the end to really keep a nice, fresh green flavor to that. So the cucumber can be definitely cut in pieces. Everything gets cut in pieces anyway. The leeks as well. I had a better knife before, but.
And gotta keep those knives sharp.
This is a soup. This is a superb soup for the summer. I love vichyssoise with, you know, and it's very refreshing. It has a little bit of richness. Of course, it goes well with anything a little salty. So here I am saute some leeks, and I'm gonna add some celery to it. So the celery gets chopped also roughly. Voila. Daniel, you can talk about the wine.
Okay, so, you know, when we were thinking about this dish, vichyssoise, I was thinking that it's a very refreshing dish. It has some texture also because it's potatoes and there's a little cream. At least in my recipe, I put a little cream. I don't know about Danielle, but I wanted to serve two wines.
Crème
I thought, crème fraîche, that's what I use. So I made a dish also because I wanted to taste alongside in case anybody can see it. See, I made a beautiful vichyssoise, Danielle. I don't know if you can see my dish, but I put smoked salmon, chive. You see that? And a little cream,
yes.
fresh.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you can charge too much money for that one, but that's nice.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll send you the recipe when I'm done. And so I serve two wines to go with that. I have a Sancerre that I just poured with the 11 Coravin. It's a Sancerre from the Loire.
And here I'm adding the cucumber to the leeks. I'm adding the cucumber to the leek and the celery, and continue sweating. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, I didn't use any cucumber in mine, but the Sancerre is great because it has a little herbal note. It's 100% Sauvignon Blanc for people. And the Vouvray I chose as a counterpoint because it's a little bit richer. It's a richer wine, and it has just a little residual sugar, not sweet, but just a little body, a little tenderness to it, and a little smoky character from the Chenin Blanc. And I thought that would go well with the smoked salmon in the dish. Because I think that you use a little smoked salmon in yours too, no?
Yes, I will. Actually, it's a very special smoked salmon, and I'll talk about it in a second. So I have sweated the leeks, the celery, and the cucumber. And to that, now I'm gonna add some chicken stock, but because it's confinement and I couldn't find bone for my chicken stock, I'm using water. But water is delicious in soup. I grew up on a farm, and we had a soup every night for dinner, and it was always made with water, and it was always delicious. Okay, so I have a little bit of water here, seasoning, and to that, I'm adding the potatoes. So the potatoes are roughly cut, also like this, as you can see, and the potato will give the velvetness of the soup, the bodiness, the little bit of it feels almost velvety under the tongue, on the tongue, because the potato being well cooked give this liaison to the soup.
And I think that that's really important to talk about the texture, because the texture of the food and the texture of the wine. Wine has a great deal of texture also. And you can think of these two wines in two ways. The Sauvignon Blanc, the Sancerre, is a little sharper, and it counters the texture, the creaminess of the potato. And the Vouvray with the Chenin Blanc is a little bit rounder and harmonizes with the Vichyssoise and the creaminess of it. So we can taste both of them. I've been tasting these for 2 or 3 days already because the Coravin keeps them fresh.
It's true. So you say Sancerre?
I've never had so many bottles of wine open at the same time in my home.
You say Vouvray. So here is my Vichyssoise. So I don't know if you can see very well, but it has a certain unctuosity to it. It's really, and it has a soft pale green, which is how I like my Vichyssoise to be. So I am putting the Vichyssoise in the plate, and of course, I'm going to tell you about the trick of how I made that Vichyssoise soft green, is because after my potato and the leeks and celery is cooked, I'm going to be adding the green leeks to finish at the end. I'm going to be adding all the peel of the cucumber and also a bundle of dill inside. So all that will go together and bring a nice freshness for the last 3-4 minutes. But interestingly enough, this is a regular cucumber, and this is what we call Japanese cucumber. And so one has mostly no seeds and a lot of greens around, and it's perfect to make a Vichyssoise. And this one, you have to take the seeds off, or at least the seedy part, and you keep the peel separate. But both work very well. So I'm going to use a little bit of this cucumber to make a little garnish with it.
So I have to say that Daniel puts a lot of care into the vegetables that he chooses from farmers who are very conscientious, care about the land.
Yes.
I want to add also that all the wines that we have today are from either organic or biodynamic farmers, because I think that by working with winemakers who are respectful of the land is a way of supporting them also and protecting our planet. So I know that Danielle and I think about that when we're choosing ingredients and choosing a wine for a dish.
Very much. And because I am by myself, not by myself, I have my family also at home. And but I didn't have to bake, I didn't have time to bake my own cressini. So of course I got some cressini and some smoked salmon. And the smoked salmon, if you can see, it's a Daniel Boulud smoked salmon, and it's sold by Solex Fine Food. If you go online, Solex, Solex Fine Food. and they give a percentage of the sales to Hand in Hand as well, our charity. So I'm very thankful and excited about that. So you see, I took my cressini and I wrapped the pre-sliced smoked salmon. So this is a Daniel Boulud smoked salmon, who is available in 4 ounce, 8 ounce, and you can buy a whole side of salmon if you like pre-sliced. The salmon is a Atlantic salmon, voila, like this. And then I have a little bit of fresh dill over. Voila. And then a little bit of crème fraîche as well.
Danielle, I should have given you my recipe. It's much easier.
The crème fraîche is also the cream I put into the preparation. You can also use it with Greek yogurt. And, you know, you just do a little swirl of crème fraîche on top. It's nice. It gives a little bit. But, you know, because I am Daniel Boulud and I do it my way. Let me see. I have a little grater here. So I'm gonna grate a little bit of lemon zest to it, just for freshness. And I think I had, voila, but that's more or less my vichyssoise. So Danielle, it's almost as good as yours. Let me dive in.
I think I have to admit it looks better than mine, but mine's simpler. Mine's potato, leek, chicken stock, smoked salmon, chive, and crème
Voila,
fraîche.
I'm gonna try to show you my vichyssoise. I'll bring it to you. This is a virtual service. Voila.
Beautiful.
Comme ça. So of course I put 2 cressini inside because that's gonna be a nice lunch. And
okay.
Voila, vichyssoise. So you have the recipe online, and if you go to Coravin /Mother's Day, coravin.com /Mother's Day, you will have the recipe of the vichyssoise. Voila, Danielle. Cheers.
Hey, Danielle, look at mine.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's very nice too.
I have to admit, I think I'd rather make chefs.
I wasn't expecting anything less, but I have to say that it's fascinating to taste wine like this. You know, usually at home we open one bottle or just pour a glass out of a Coravin and then save it. But to compare is a fascinating experience. And then you can always keep the bottle that you're not going to finish for another dish, another day. So, Greg, did you have a preference on the 2 wines?
I'm such an enormous fan of Vouvray, and I love the Minuet. I love the richness. I love the complexity. I think that stuff is transcendent. I'm a big fan of the Loire, so you had me with both of those wines, and I'm sure they pair well. I don't get to eat the wonderful food you guys are making. So
yeah, well, that's what we've been doing.
Let me taste it to make sure that.
So both these producers are iconic producers from their appellation. Lucien Crochet in Sancerre, very well known in the village of Bouet. And then Gaston Huet is one of the legends of France. The domain started in the early 20s and makes a range of wines, dry, semi-dry, sweet, very sweet. And they can age forever also.
I wanted to show you what I look like when I'm envious of chef eating, because I haven't eaten all day being in a cadaver lab. Sorry, I said that. It looks so fantastic. Yeah,
I'm going to ship you some vichyssoise.
This Sancerre, and it's actually delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. It also has a slightly herbal note that for my dish, in any case with the chive, it's a little bit more herbal, and I think it goes great and cuts through the texture of the potato. So that's, you know, I love both of them. It's just a question of choice. And any of the wines, and this goes with all wine and food pairings, by the way.
I haven't tasted with the
people who are watching. When you are thinking about pairing a wine with a dish, I would say don't stress over it so much. The key is to have good ingredients. If you're going to have a delicious wine like this, it's going to go with not everything, but it's going to go with a lot of different dishes. So we're splitting hairs by saying, oh, I prefer the Sancerre or I prefer the Vouvray. They're both great wines, and everybody has their own palate. So
I love that Coravin 11. It has a brain.
Yeah, until it runs out of gas.
Hey, come on. It still has a brain after it runs out of gas. It turns red. So, DJ, there's a question from a guy named David Chadwick.
Okay. Let's see if I can answer.
Guarantee. The Sancerre, almost better than
Yeah,
the Vouvray.
but with a different dish at a different time, you'd prefer the Vouvray. So you choose. What's the question, Greg?
Sorry, I froze for a second. Must be Netflix time. The question is, will the dill overpower the Vouvray?
I would think that the Sancerre would be a better pairing because of the dill, because of the herbaceousness of it. But as I said, it's a question of quality. I wouldn't let that stop me from drinking the Vouvray. It's a spectacular wine. So you're gonna have a taste of the dill of the soup. The dill is just a spice in the soup. It just emphasizes and ties the soup together. It's another element, it's complexity. It's like nuance in wine. So I wouldn't do it. But my personal preference in this pairing is the Sancerre.
There we go. So that leads to a question for Chef. And somehow I sense the answer to this, but somebody's asking, how creative can you get with Vichyssoise beyond the classic recipe?
Well, this one I did it with cucumber, dill, a pinch of lemon zest, and that's quite delicate and refreshing. And cucumber is super light and it's not a very powerful vegetable. But you could do it with pea, you could do it with broccoli, you could do it with curry if you like. Just take leek and potato and have a little bit of curry inside and a little bit of saffron and maybe put a little bit of cauliflower, and that becomes sort of a cauliflower vichyssoise with curry and saffron. That will be delicious.
Do you ever preference for a hot or a cold vichyssoise? Sometimes serving it hot also, right?
Hot vichyssoise.
Never? No?
We made, by appellation, the vichyssoise is served cold. So there is a very similar soup called potage cultivateur, where it's leek and potato, basically. And that has a hot connotation. But vichyssoise, the best vichyssoise for me is the plain vichyssoise, potato and leeks with crème fraîche and the chicken stock and a spoon of caviar in the middle.
Okay, that's the only thing missing from mine.
So voila. So you see, the stage of the vichyssoise is in the cooking stage, where now there's a lot of green in it as well at the last minute, and until those greens get tender. Then I chill the soup first. I chill the soup like this right away, so the greens stay fresh and green. And then after, I blend the soup with the crème fraîche.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Voila. Okay. Let's move on.
All right. I'm ready when you are. You have more work to do than I do.
Yeah, thank you.
I remember Danielle often says to me, in another life, I'd like to be a sommelier.
That would take me a lifetime to figure it out.
Yeah, that's what
it's
you
okay.
We have
Okay. Our next course is a black sea bass with lardon, which I have a little bit of pancetta. Lardon is made with the pancetta, the pork belly, which is just cured, and I have also the black sea bass, the potato, mushroom, and scallion or onion. I had onion, but I couldn't find enough scallion. I don't know, in the market. I mean, right now going to the market, it's kind of a little bit of you have to be spontaneous. And I stopped by a supermarket and I didn't get a chance to get the exact pearl onion I wanted, but that's okay. Onion is onion, pearl or no pearl. but I also like scallion in it, so that's fine. And we have those wonderful little potato from a farm in Idaho, because I receive also things from Chef Garden in Idaho, formerly
That's the best.
at Chef Garden. Fabulous. And right now with also another farm who is in Pennsylvania, and they are doing a package with Chef Garden where you can have the vegetable and the loin of lamb from pure breed lamb out of the lamb farm, and that is quite it's quite a good package to get, and I'll make sure that that's part of the recipe of our lamb recipe, but also with our vegetable, that you have that on the website about, I'll give you the list of all my farmers we use, so this way you can be really covered with that. So the sea bass gets seared. Yes. Go ahead,
Danielle, I saw in one of your recipes that you use the chef's garden, and I ordered from them, and I think it's the best salad, the best vegetables I've ever had. And they keep so fresh because I think they harvest them the day they ship them. I mean, it was absolutely spectacular. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yes, absolutely.
So do you want me to talk about the wine while you're preparing the fish?
Go ahead, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay, so Danielle's doing a sea bass, and he'll tell you about the recipe and the preparation. But I wanted to point out to everyone that it's a common mistake to think that you have to serve white wine with fish. That's one of those myths that we have to debunk, because red wine goes great with fish. And in fact, with the preparation Danielle's doing, I have a feeling the red wine that I have will go better. I have two Burgundies, a white Burgundy and a red Burgundy. The white Burgundy is a Chassagne Montrachet from a small organic domain in the village of Chassagne. And this is Bernard Moreau, 2017. And that's the white wine. And the red wine is a Chambon Musigny Premier Cru from Drouin, Joseph Drouin, also 2017. I want to point out that I pulled the white wine out of the refrigerator a short while ago. The red wine, I like to serve my red wines slightly chilled also. So if you keep your red wines at room temperature in an apartment is, I don't know, 68, 70 degrees. It's too warm for a red wine, especially a red Burgundy made from Pinot Noir. So I put it in the refrigerator for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just put a slight chill on it. I think that when you're doing fish, you can choose a white or a red, but it so much depends on the preparation, the garnish, the sauce. So if you're going to poach a fish, that's very delicate. If you're going to put a butter or a lemon sauce, that's delicate. I would go to a white wine. But I suspect that Chef Daniel is hand roasting the fish. I know there's some lardon. I saw the recipes before. There are no secrets from me. And I know exactly what he's doing at all times. And so we're going to taste both and you'll decide. But the Chassagne Montrachet I'm going to serve first. Let me go with the other Corvin. We already tested the 11. Let's see if the 6 works, Greg. You're going to be in trouble if it doesn't. Greg, I'm amazed at how easy it is to slide the needle through the cork.
So I hate to pop in here, but that's right. And that's a result of the genius work of our wonderful team here, Mike and his team who run R&D and everybody else. I mean, they did a beautiful job on the Model 6. The Model 3 is really stunning. Real quick, CC Hand in Hand promo code at Corvin, 10% off, 15% goes to Chefs Hand in Hand.
Thank you.
Relief Fund. So please do buy. The great thing about the Model 6 is it uses the clamp of the Model 11, so you get all the benefit of the ease of use. Just push it down, take it forth, and take it off. I am a huge fan of Drouin, so while I have no food, I'm going to be drinking this marvelous Drouin along with you.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna do that now also. But
Me too.
That was, you're going to go with the red wine. Okay, well, you guys go with the red wine, but I'm going to stick, I'm going to taste both.
Thank you for
because-
talking. Thank you for talking about hand in hand and how important it is to me, this charity. When I closed the restaurant, I created a foundation in order to bring support to our team and to our team who was follow. And hand in hand have been really helping hundreds of family in the last months and a half, and we continue to bring them support. So thank you very much for all the generosity of Coravin and Daniel Johnnes in supporting hand in hand. I really appreciate, and this is to my team and to my staff, which I miss a lot. And I wish, I wish them that we can get together soon, of course. Cheers.
Cheers to you. You're going straight to the red wine, you two guys. You're not
Cheers,
even going to
guys.
try the Chassagne. Okay.
You talk about Drouin, that kind of went up. So
No,
the sea bass.
I didn't talk about it yet, but I'll let you go ahead and then I'll talk about it.
The sea bass is seasoned, salt and pepper. This is a black sea bass. This is our next course. And Daniel is talking about, dish we can be paired with white, dish we can be paired with red. And I believe that it's true, and the dish can really be paired with both. So I'm searing the sea bass on the skin side.
Chef, there's a quick question.
Yes.
Somebody's asking, could other fish fillets be used instead of black sea bass?
Of course, you can use any whitefish fillet. You can use salmon. So the preparation here is quite simple, and yet you depends on the type of fish you cook. You can cook it with a vegetable, or you can cook it with. I like to sear the fish and then put the vegetable around, then remove the fish, finish the vegetable, make the sauce, and put everything over the plate. And I think that's what we're gonna do here. So with the fillet searing.
I went to the fish store today, Danielle, and I picked up some striped bass and some halibut, and I bet that both of those would be great with this preparation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
Striped
I'm going
bass,
to talk about
halibut,
Yep.
salmon, tuna. Halibut, you have to be careful. Don't sear it too hard because often, unless you have the skin. If you have the skin, then that's good to sear it. But the flesh is delicate, and it could really dry up too much. So it's good to cook it mostly on the skin.
So the red one
go
is
ahead.
from Joseph Drouin. And Joseph Drouin is one of my favorite properties or estates in all of Burgundy. They are a negociant, but they're also a large landowner. They own some fantastic vineyards in Chablis and in Chambon-Musigny, which we're drinking now, and in Beaune, and all through the Côte d'Or. The Premier Cru is a blend of 5 different Premier Cru vineyards. So they don't name it by the name of the vineyard. It's just called Premier Cru. And it's the style of the house is always very delicate, very perfumed. And with this dish, with fish, even though it's a red wine, it has a little smokiness to it, it has some body, it's still quite delicate, just like the fish. So I like to drink Chambon with fish. I like to drink Volnay with fish. I like to drink Pinot Noir that's not too powerful. So this is 2017, which is an excellent vintage. Ready to drink now. It's young, but it can age for many years, 20, 30 years. I don't think will be a problem. But it's a very forward drinking vintage for today.
DJ, somebody asked, you mentioned that you chill your red wines. What's the benefit of chilling your red wines?
Great question, because I love to talk about temperature of wine. I think people serve their white wines too cold and the red wines too warm. So the advantage of chilling a red wine is, now we're not talking about chilling it, putting it in an ice bucket. We're talking about bringing it down a few degrees, like 62 degrees, 60 degrees. Cellar temperature is 56, 58 degrees. So it's not that chilled, but what it does is it brings out the aromatics of the wine, and it also tones down the burn of alcohol. As it warms up into a room temperature, the alcohol is going to dominate the flavors on the palate. So it makes it much more refreshing and a more delicate taste. always chill your red wine. Pinot Noir, I would chill a little bit more than Cabernet or Merlot or Syrah, but all of them I would chill a little bit. And white wine, I have the most problem with because people serve it too cold. It just numbs the flavors. You know, it's like when you go outside in the winter without a coat on and no jacket and it's cold, and you immediately go like this. You close up, you tighten up. Well, so does the wine. It's the same thing.
Don't you get too thirsty when you talk a lot like this?
Well, I'm just trying to listen. We're going to see at the end of the seance. We're going to see at the end who talk more, and I can put my money down that it's you. And
Okay,
I get to say a few things too. And besides, you're busy cooking the fish.
And let me tell you,
I don't want you to screw it up. Come on.
I met this man in 1984 in New York, right next block here on 64th Street and Madison, and we have been friends ever since. Basically, if I had to have a brother in America, this is my little brother because he's shorter than me. Okay, so here we have the sea bass cooking, and the sea bass have some potatoes, and they have also some scallion and also some mushroom. And I like to roast the mushroom around the sea bass, let the sea bass pick up the flavor. I'm putting a little bit of sliced garlic, a little bit of fresh thyme to it. And interestingly enough, while the fish is still very rare, I'm gonna do a little deglaze of red wine over the dish. Like this. You see, Coravin, when you cook with cheap wine, you have to open the bottle and use a lot of wine. Here, by
and then throw it
using
out.
Coravin, I can use a splash of very good wine to make excellent food, and yet not and be able to enjoy the rest of the bottle or a part of the bottle, a glass out of the bottle. So I put a little bit of butter, of course, because you really want to create.
And because you're French, that's why.
Voila. So now I am putting the sea bass here. I have the vegetable, the potatoes, the onion, the scallion, a little bit. I put a little bit of the reduction of red wine. And of course, every time I do a roast at home, roast chicken, roast quail, roast bird, or even a meat, I keep a little bit of the meat jus. And you know, you always have to keep it in the freezer or somewhere. So I put a little bit of meat jus. So it's not really a meat sauce, but it has a little bit of a meat jus to it, like this. Now, a good turn of peppermill.
So, gentlemen, I mean, you're making me both hungry and thirsty at the same time, and I even have the wines. Somebody has asked Chef what cookware you're using, and also DJ, where did you source these wonderful wines from? I'm just gonna leave it with that.
Well, I got the wines from Morel Wine Shop in the city, in Manhattan. Great selection of wines all the time. So, highly recommended.
Yeah.
I don't know what cookware Daniel's using.
Well, the cookware, I have basically every brand under the sun, because every brand of cookware want me to taste their cookware. So this one is an ankle pan, but I have all clad, of course. I have many different cookware who are sometimes French, such as this cast iron pot back here, or American, or German. So here we have the sauce, and I'm putting some parsley in it. Hello? Yeah. Some fresh parsley. Yeah. Voila. So this is barely in sauce. It's just the vegetable are glazed a little bit with that. You see? If you don't, I'm gonna show it to you in a second. Voila.
So
it's a very simple fish. Today. So of course I pre-roast the potatoes a little bit for this one, because if you start with a potato and roast, voila.
So one real quick thing, Morel Wine has a discount on these wines. So if you enter in Corvin MW as a discount code, you can get these wines 10% off, I think. So that is great. Then there's a question that I actually need to know the answer to. Chef, what is the difference between a jus and stock? That
you see that
so
one?
good.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's the black sea bass with the potato, wild mushroom, scallion, parsley, garlic, thyme. No. They are scallion.
Ooh.
The green.
So with this dish, I definitely would recommend the red wine, the Chassagne, the Chambon-Musigny Premier Cru. That's the one for the dish. But I just wanted to talk about how flexible and fish can be. You can go with a white wine or a red wine. And again, if you want to have a white wine with it, that's going to be fun because it's a delicious white wine for those who are drinking it.
I like to make dishes where the fish has the possibility of being enjoyed with a red wine, such as, I mean, this one is an extraordinary wine. And the, but never too powerful, so the wine still remains sort of the star of the dish. But with a white wine, superb as well, Daniel.
I have to say that so there's questions just pouring in for you guys. So that looks so delicious, and I'm so hungry. But for why am I not in New York with you right now? So DJ, somebody said, why'd you pick a Chassagne and not a Merceau?
Well, the world of wine is quite large, and I had to pick something. Could I ask them why they would prefer that I pick a Merceau?
I'll totally throw that right back at them. So I don't know who this person is, but
well, I think I know why, because I represent some of the most famous winemakers in the village of Merceau, and some of my best friends also, Jean-Marc Boulud, Dominique Lafont, and they're very dear friends, and I import their wines and I drink their wines all the time. However, I believe that Chassagne-Montrachet doesn't get the exposure that it deserves. Chassagne-Montrachet is one of the great white wine producing villages in the Côte de Beaune. This producer, Alex Moreau, from Domaine Bernard Moreau, is making a village level wine. It's not even a Premier Cru, but it's as good as many Premier Cru wines. It's an extraordinary value. And frankly, it's a little easier to find than some of the names I just mentioned. So I want to choose wines that, my cellar is mostly Merceau. I have to admit. So the person who asked that question probably knows me.
Yeah. So I have to say, I snuck a wine out of my cellar this morning for this, just in case. So, from Chassagne-Montrachet, I'm a big fan of this region, Merceau as well. So love these wines.
Yeah.
So food friendly.
And by the way,
so Daniel, you're the only one. By the way, we're all hungry.
Yeah, well, I'm here to make you feel bad, Daniel, because you should have been here with me. But with confinement, I can only share it to you like this.
Yeah, but look at what I have.
In case you think, he talked about pancetta before and then he forgot the pancetta. That's either because I'm drinking while when I'm cooking, or because I'm doing a tasting menu at home and it's a little bit all over the place, and sometimes I'm not 100% there. So
I'm going to tell everybody watching. Normally, Daniel Boulud has about 26 people behind him helping him put a dish together. So you're seeing him now in the raw. This is the real Daniel.
No, but Boulud. Daniel, I think the thing is done now with the pancetta, and it's just a cured bacon, which I also blanch. Meaning I boil a little bit of water and I throw the bacon, the cured pancetta, the pork belly, and blanch it a little bit. So it just take away the saltiness excess into it. And it's just delicious because I just sprinkle over it like this and it's perfect.
Well, I have to say that I think the pancetta is the element that would completely tie the red wine in with it.
Totally. Voilà, c'est vrai.
But even without it, I think the red wine here, the Chambord-Musigny.
Well,
In any case, Chambord-Musigny is a red wine from Burgundy that you can drink almost with anything. When a great wine from a great producer, a great vintage like this, it's you don't get too picky with what you're eating. You just love the wine. So
absolutely.
okay, so now we have a fantastic dish that Danielle gave me some, so I was able to test this because I was very curious.
We are sharing that one.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Okay. What are we drinking? That's my biggest
I'll show
question.
you. See, does it? Oh, I just a pea just rolled off my plate.
Oh, I think we're gonna go for côte rôtie. Oh wow. Yeah.
Is that it?
That's okay.
What? It's yours,
good.
so don't be too critical.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You made it and gave it to me. So okay. I love cooking with Danielle. You want me to talk about the wines?
If you like, while I'm opening it and making sure that I have it ready for the stew.
Okay, so when Danielle told me about this dish, I know a Navarin d'agneau that has many variations of it. And when he described it to me, I really felt like I was in Provence. I thought that there was something very Provençal and spicy, not spicy as in hot spicy, but the flavors of Provence, herbs and vegetables, tomato, olive. I believe that those are ingredients in the dish. So it made me think of two different kinds of wine. And I wanted a contrast here. I wanted a rosé. Now, rosé, some people think that it's a cheap, not a very good wine, but rosé can be fantastic, especially from a village like Bandol in the south of France in Provence, made from the Mourvèdre grape, which has body, it's quite powerful, but it's still a rosé, so it's fresh. And I think that when you eat food and when you drink wine, you also like to think of the place where you are, because it brings back memories and it's sort of a fantasy, and there's a romantic side to eating and drinking. So I liked the Provençal wine to serve with this, and it went really well. We're going to taste it. And the other wine was from the northern Rhone, from Côte Rôtie, which is a fantastic appellation. This is on Daniel Boulud's home doorstep. It's probably 25 minutes from Lyon. But they're some of the most ancient vineyards in France. The terraced slopes. Côte Rôtie, translated into English, means the roasted slopes, because you have these very, very steep terraced slopes that the Romans carved into the hillside. And it's south facing, so rôti is roasted. You have the roasted slope from the sun. And it's made from the Syrah grape, 100%. Well, it's not 100% Syrah, but it's 85, 90% Syrah with a little Viognier. So lamb, I think, goes great with Syrah. And I tasted both of these wines with the dish. I'm not going to say, I want to hear what Daniel has to say about his preference. Daniel, do you have both of these wines?
Let me see. So I have already the Côte Rôtie ready to go here.
Okay. I'm going to taste the Bandol first. I'm using the 6 on this one, Greg.
Yeah, so it's hard. I mean, chef is using the 11 because it has its own brain, and
yeah,
you're a sommelier, DJ, so you need work to do.
Yeah, exactly. We like to be involved in the process. So
and the other wine. Did you give me a bottle of that wine?
Maybe not.
Because we were supposed to share the same wine, but I think
DJ cut chef out of the rosé.
I don't think.
Oh yeah, I do have that. Yeah,
is it
absolutely.
in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
So I'm unlucky that I don't have your rosé or your Côte Rôtie, but I brought Côte Rôtie myself. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's another Côte Rôtie.
Of the Northern Rhone, so I don't have the food either. So,
Well, that's right.
DJ, somebody asked the question to follow up on wine temperature. What's the ideal serving temperature for Sancerre and for white Burgundy?
Well, Sancerre, I'd probably serve a little bit cooler. I would serve that at about 52 degrees. 50 up. There we go. And a white Burgundy, I'd serve warmer. I think the Chardonnay is a grape that has texture and it really comes out and expresses itself well at a warmer temperature, 54, 55 degrees, almost cellar temperature, maybe a little bit cooler. And the Sancerre I would chill, but once again, don't put it in an ice bucket and let it freeze. Just bring it down to maybe 48, 50 degrees for the Sancerre.
Uh-huh. So I have both wine, Daniel.
Good. Yeah.
But I do not. I think it's two different lifestyle to drink rosé with a Navarin or drink rosé with Côte Rôtie.
Completely. This is a real contrast.
If you are in Provence, if you are during the summer and you have this wonderful lamb from Provence, and you are doing that with a lot of flavor of rosemary and thyme and well, mine is a little bit Provençal, but not fully there. But I'm using black olive, I'm using tomato, I'm using peas, of course, asparagus. We have asparagus, we have carrots, we have snow peas here. So besides the vegetable, we braise the lamb stew. Let me warm up a little bit my veg here, so we can be all comparing. So here is the lamb. I'm using, oh, pardon, sorry, this one, wrong place. I'm using a lamb shoulder. So I found, you see, this is a slice of a lamb shoulder, and that's perfect for lamb stew also. You cut that in big chunks, in pieces. You roast the pieces nicely. Then you add the onion, the carrot, the turnip, the celery, the bouquet garni, garlic, and thyme, rosemary, and parsley, and you braise that with white wine. And what I like to do in my lamb stew is I like to put, in a way, not rosé, but half white, half red on the lamb stew sometimes, or a little bit of red, like two-thirds white, one-third red. I don't think I said that in the recipe, and I only call for white wine. But you know, you can always put a splash of red. It gives a touch of tannin, and it goes also very well with the tomato and all that. So there's a lot of tomato inside, the turnips, the carrots, and so with here I have the lamb stew. Hold on one second. That is getting hot.
So there's a question that's come up for both of you, and this is clearly lamb is a contentious meat. So somebody said, what if you don't like lamb? What other meat would you use? And then for DJ, if the meat changes, would the wine recommendation change? Like you left everything else the same. I mean, he said olives, and I thought Côte Rôtie and Northern Rhone. But meat changes, do you change the wine? Yeah. And chef, if you were going to do this recipe without lamb, what would it be?
I could do a daube provençal with beef as well. I could use chicken. I mean, chicken legs, for example. It's a good braising legs, and you can use the same ingredient, the same preparation. I think it will be wonderful. I think Navarin d'agneau is a great French classic, and Navarin d'agneau it's about expressing often spring because you use spring lamb, and you use also the cheaper cut, the shoulder, the neck, the pieces were the shank, where it's inexpensive, it's delicious, it gives a lot of flavor when it braised. And this Navarin, actually, this Navarin d'agneau, I've been serving, I don't know, 1,500 or 2,000 portions last week to the doctors and the nurse at NY Presbyterian Hospital in New York from the kitchen of Daniel. And I told the chef, Chef Eddie Leroux, I say, please keep me some Navarin because I'm doing a webinar with Coravin and I want to have some Navarin. So the Navarin I'm going to present you is the one we also serve as a charity to New York right now to help the first responder. Not to help, but to feed the first responder and give them energy and courage for how hard they're working.
Yeah, I can tell you it's really good. I had it the other day.
It is delicious.
And I have
So
it now also.
If you thought I did that Navarin, not yet, but with the meat here next to me, I'm gonna do it. Don't worry. So I am putting the Navarin in the plate. So in the sauce, it has the braising vegetable, which I love: the carrots, the onion, the celery, and the turnips, and the garlic and the tomato. So it has all stewed well together and it's delicious like this. But at the same time, I like to have fresh vegetable over it because I think it's very, voila, we're gonna put it right there. And you can almost see it here. Voila. And then to that, I'm gonna sprinkle, I'm running out of equipment here.
Yeah, you need a sous chef.
I know. Tell me about it. I'm so frustrated.
Oh, so anyhow, to answer your question, the question, if it with a different meat, yeah, if you did it with beef and made a dough provençal, I would go with even a fuller, more full-bodied wine, like a Châteauneuf du Pape, something that's really rich and powerful and very Provençal.
So here I have a little bit of asparagus, carrots, turnip, snow pea, peas, haricot vert, and I am sprinkling a little bit of that over. So there is the braised flavor of the vegetable, and there is the fresh of the garden of the farmer's market kind of vegetable on top as well. And then to that also some black olive, couple of black olive to it, and also some tomato. And the tomato, to me, they can just be barely sauté or fresh like this, because it's nice to have a contrast with a braised meat of something a little refreshing with it, sort of bring a little bit of lightness. And then I finish it with a little bit of olive oil.
The very reason that I selected the rosé was to try that freshness with it, because I think that's a dish like that. It's rich, even though it's very fresh garden vegetables, but the rosé gives it the sort of the counter, the cut. It gives a little bit of a contrast.
Absolutely.
Fresh. Sort of what the tomato brings to it is what the rosé brings to it.
I would never have thought of a rosé with a dish like this. I'm a huge fan of Bandol rosé.
Look at that.
Wow, that looks fantastic, chef. Unlike some of our viewers, I love lamb. So that just looks...
No, but you know, I think, and this lamb is from Elysian Farm. So if people either Google Elysian Farm lamb, they will find it. And together with also the Chef Garden, they make a special box where you're gonna get a saddle of lamb and all those wonderful vegetables on top from Chef Garden will give you a chance to be able to reproduce maybe not this dish, but a wonderful dish with lamb and spring vegetables.
Oh, I am really getting hungry.
I hope
the
you had
same.
time to
So
take a snapshot.
Chef, I've got to thank you for your work for Columbia Presbyterian. It's one of the first places that I did medical work as a young engineer and scientist at Pfizer. So I'm very close to that hospital. I think it's an amazing place, and that you're supporting those people is really spectacular. They need the food. Those guys are exhausted.
Thank you. I know, and I have three children, and they were all born at this hospital. So for me, it's really close to my heart.
That's fantastic. I was born in Lenox Hill Hospital, so not too far to the south from there, and grew up in New York City and love where you live. And maybe one day we'll be back there. So just real quick, again, if you go to Coravin.com, you enter the promo code CCHanahan, we'll give you a 10% discount, and we'll give 15% to Chef's Charity. to support the restaurant industry and the people that have been really hammered by
With the rosé, very good.
COVID-19. Yeah, rosé. I've never done that, and I can't wait to try it. DJ,
So
thank
good.
you for that recommendation.
Very refreshing, very light, very refreshing.
So I want to talk about the Côte Rôtie also, because this is a special wine, and I think it's the lamb that really brought the Côte Rôtie into it. I love lamb and Syrah and Côte Rôtie. So this one is from a producer, Cluzel Rock. It's the only certified organic producer in Côte Rôtie. There are others who are practicing organic viticulture, but they're the only certified one. And this is from an extraordinary vineyard called La Vieillère, very old vineyard. These vines are not extremely old. They're about 25, 30 years old, but it really expresses the character of the spice and nuance. And there's a texture to it. There's like a silkiness to it that just carries it on and on and on your palate. And what's great about Syrah is sort of a peppery, smoky style. I think with the olives and the lamb, this is perfect. But honestly, I like both of them. I like the Bandol for one reason, the freshness it brings. And I like the Côte Rôtie because of the richness and the nuance. And it's also a very noble wine. And the dish, Danielle, I have to admit, it's a noble dish. It's a fantastic dish. So
yes. I think to me, this is quintessentially French, but in the same time, it has soulfulness and it's delicate, it's flavorful, it's healthy, it's really seasonal and a lot of soul in the dish. And I mean, you know, not every dish is a partner to the wine, but that dish is an amazing partner to wine. Yeah.
And I want to add also, Danielle, that this is very representative of Danielle's cuisine. Soulful, elegant, French, very French. No, I mean, this is why I love your food, Danielle, because you put your soul and passion into it, and this is it. Now you can say something. You can say something nice about me now.
I'm normally at Boulud, and my game is with the sommelier. So you guys have one of the most amazing wine lists in any city that I go to. And so my game is to drink whatever they have. They bring me a glass blind, and I have to guess where it's from because you guys might have it from anywhere. And I love that. And the food is spectacular. I know it's going to be great, but I'm a wine guy. So you guys have amazing lists. Somebody actually asked a question about pouring it. Like in the company of these geniuses, it's so great to be asked a question. Somebody said, how long can you leave the needle through the cork? Is it okay to leave it for a couple of hours? So my brother-in-law, who's a doctor, really fantastic guy, when I was developing cork, when I gave him a prototype, he would leave the needle through the cork for hours. This is one of the reasons why I chose argon gas. Argon is heavier than oxygen. It won't allow air in. You can actually leave the cork or the needle through the cork for 90 minutes to 2 hours. The problem is that the cork will reseal more slowly. So I'm going to pour myself just a little bit more of this Côte Rôtie because I am also a fan of the pepper and the smoke. Like it is a noble wine. I couldn't agree with you more. It's the least great tasting wine on the planet. Like I have no idea how a grape makes this smell.
That's a Bernard Levé Côte Rôtie, I believe you're drinking.
It is indeed.
What's the vintage? 2014?
It is a child. This is a 2008, and I'm not going to live long enough for this to be perfectly ready to drink.
Yeah, well, his wines are very a bit tannic and a little bit rustic, but they age beautiful.
He's totally old school. So, but you can leave the needle through the cork for a long time. Just what you don't want to do is if you do that, don't turn it upside down or store it on its side immediately because it takes up to like a couple of minutes if you left it through for a few hours for the cork.
Well, you want to finish the bottle pretty quickly anyhow, don't you?
So that's you. So
okay,
blind tasting at 14 years. So
I know you have.
Yeah. So I'm weird. I'm a variety freak like you. Like I love doing 2 glasses of wine with each dish because it's how I learn how to pair.
You wouldn't believe my kitchen. I have bottles all over the place. And now, I mean, it's not always like this, but leading up to today, of course, I've been trying a lot, but we always have bottles everywhere and you know, we're tasting them and come back to them. And can I talk about the dessert wine or not yet?
Yeah, I'm gonna back on this.
Not
you
yet.
guys are
I have
amazing,
a question.
so.
No. I have a question to Greg because I'm very curious.
I'm back.
Where did it all started for you with Coravin, and how did you come up with this idea of being able to extract the wine without removing the cork and not altering the wine? That's the biggest thing.
So, well, thank you for asking that question. Chef, we've been together a couple of times, and I haven't told you this story. It just makes me feel guilty. So,
I don't know.
I work in medicine. I was in a cadaver lab today because I was training people how to do my spinal surgery. But one of the very first products that I ever developed was a chemotherapy infusion system for people who had cancer. It was an implant underneath the skin, and you would access it over and over again with a needle during the course of their chemotherapy. So that was the very first product I developed second product I developed for medicine. I was 23 years old, working for Pfizer. And so I got really good at making needles that could go in and out of things without doing damage. And these were normally kids with leukemia or people with breast cancer. So I fell in love with wine when I was 16. Tony Teju served my first wine in California. I was living in Southern California, drove up there. I looked old, older than I was. And so he served me a glass in the tasting room, and I fell in love with the stuff. And then my interest in wine expanded from there. I ran into Europe, France, Italy, Spain. It was just unending variety, like you guys know. I'm obsessed with the stuff. And then my wife, she became pregnant and stopped drinking. So here we had all of these wines, and I had a bottle in my left hand and one of my chemotherapy needles in my right hand. I just want to be able to drink from 4 or 5 different wines in an evening. And why am I not doing that? Why can't I have a white and a red and a dessert wine on a Tuesday? And so I remember thinking I can use one of these special needles from medicine and I can get wine out of there. I just had to figure out how. And it wasn't easy. It took me 11 years of testing. I wanted to be able to come back and blind taste 5 years after I'd pour them in a glass against a bottle that had never been touched and not be able to tell the difference. So that took me 11 years of testing. And, like all things, that all of a sudden it looks like, voila, here it is. Here's the solution. But it took me, I think we're now in 20 years. That son my wife was pregnant with is now 6'4" and 20 years old and almost out of
Congratulations.
And I tell you, every sommelier were very skeptic about the idea. And once they try it and they had the opportunity to see, the fact that you can really not alter the wine, I think it changed totally our perspective of offering very special wine in a restaurant, and you don't have to open a bottle for it. You know what I mean? You can only buy a glass.
Greg does a nice test at the Paulée where he sets up and he has the Coravin and different wines, and he has people blind taste the wines. Some are opened that day, and some are opened a month ago or 2 years ago. I don't know what the oldest or the wine that was accessed the oldest, and it has people taste and see if they can guess.
My most special, and this is before the wall came down, right? When I was at La Paulée in New York, which I got to tell you, if you're going to have a last event, it's being at La Paulée in New York City. So we set up the thing at the grand tasting, and Guillaume d'Angeville was there. Oh my God, I love his wine. And we had a bottle that we had accessed together that he had signed back in 2014. It was a 2000. And so he comes over, and I had a control bottle and I had an access bottle, and I poured him glasses of each. And he's like, nope, can't tell the difference. And it was, man, I mean, everybody, if you don't know Guillaume d'Angeville, that's a great one. Something is fundamentally wrong with you. Because these are such amazing people. And I remember I was almost, it was in 2008, Volney. I almost teared up when he looked at me and said, I can't tell the difference. Because that was
That's a good endorsement.
So hard to preserve. His wines are so elegant, as are Jean-Marc Rouleau's and Veronique. So, that's, but we still have doubters, and we will run that tasting everywhere. And you guys, they put your trust in us so early. I mean, Chef, and DJ, you guys have been great for us.
I tell you, when my son-in-law married my daughter last year, one of my gifts was, of course, some good wine, but also a Coravin, because I felt, if you're gonna marry my daughter, don't get her drunk, but make her appreciate.
Well, now you have 2. You can give them another one.
Yeah, no. And so I am.
Thank you.
Whipping,
we can make
thank
that
you,
happen.
Greg. Thank you for the story. And I am whipping a chantilly, which is basically whipped cream right now. and I'm not putting any sugar in it. And I am using for dessert the brownie of Jacques Torres. Jacques Torres is the pastry chef. So I met Daniel Johnnes in '84, and I brought Jacques Torres to New York City in '86, I think, at Le Cirque when I was the chef. And since then, we have been friends. And Jacques Torres is one of the top chocolatiers here. And when I did the part of the charity effort we are doing, we created a foundation with my new partner at a new restaurant I'm opening at the end of the year. It's going to be at 1 Vanderbilt on 42nd and Vanderbilt Avenue. And Mark Holiday said, Daniel, I want to do some good in New York. I have a lot of tenants and we are partners. Let's start a charity, a food charity. So we started a charity called Food First, and Food First New York. And it basically, we are serving about 8,000 or 10,000 meals a week now, all over town, all over the 5 boroughs, and different part of hospital and different need. And so part of NY Presbyterian Hospital, we're giving them a little brownie. So I asked Jacques Torres, make me a brownie, make it inexpensive, but make it good. So this is a flourless brownie. And to that, I'm making a whipped cream and I'm putting a shot of espresso in it. So I don't know what the Italian will call that. And then I'm putting a little bit of cinnamon, also Ceylon cinnamon inside, like this, voila. And basically it's as simple as that. Voila, comme ça.
That's all? Come on, put a little more, a little more.
No, that's it. But it's amazing. Oh.
Okay, so do you want to have a little...
You cut me deep, chef, that you're eating.
And it take away all the sugar of the brownie by having the whipped cream with no sugar and just a nice ristretto. And of course, you can also put some cocoa powder, but because they're coated, those brownies are coated with chocolate, they're perfect. They're perfect.
Okay. Do you want a little something to augment it? Just to, bring it up a little bit? So we do have, what we recommended for everyone was a port, because port and chocolate, it goes very nicely. And the brownie is not too sweet also, because the chocolate, the port is sweet, and you don't want to sort of mute the intensity of the port by a dessert that overwhelms it. But I have something here that's, anybody who's recommended Fonseca, 1985 from Morel, beautiful. But I have something that's a little surprise. It's a little gift for Danielle. Which camera do I want to show this? The one?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. This one. Yeah.
Is that it? So
oh, wow.
This is a Rivesaltes, which is from the Roussillon part of France. Danielle, you see the year? You see the year on it?
Yeah, it's your birth year, because I was born 20 years later. I was born 20 years later, but that's his birth year.
This is 1955 to celebrate Daniel Boulud's birth year. And my birth year also. My birthday is May 30th, so 20 days, 2-3 weeks. But Rivesaltes is a Grenache from the Roussillon, and it's what's called a vin doux naturel. So they start fermenting the Grenache grape, and they stop the fermentation by adding a neutral spirit. The same way you make port. Starts fermenting, you add alcohol so it can't ferment anymore, and it brings the alcohol level up to about 16-18%. But it also retains all the natural grape sugar sweetness, and it's an absolutely delicious wine. So Danielle,
with my little brownie,
when we can get together, we'll have a sip of this, because I'm going to carve in it, and it'll stay fresh for another few weeks until we can see each other.
Yeah, but it happens to me so often that we start to carve the wine, and then there's one glass left, and we say, okay, let's pop the cork now.
Yeah, but this one's going to keep. I'm not going to drink too much of this because it's pretty rich.
True. That's very special. And also, it's really something I'm looking forward to have with you when I'm coming to Brooklyn. And so here's my little brownie,
Oh, that's a tough one.
the ristretto whipped cream, chantilly, ristretto chantilly, and cinnamon. Cinnamon.
Look
Très simple.
Unbelievable. Look at that 55.
It's
That still looks
simple.
great. The cinnamon and that creme fraiche. That was
Yeah.
delicious.
Oh,
That
and it
I am
smells.
super.
Yeah.
I'm super jealous, and you know.
I'm jealous of you both. I'm left here with a Chambon Musigny, which I really love, but
Not bad.
I got to tell
Yeah.
you guys, and I'm being totally honest here and direct. I've had one of the worst days that I've ever had as a result of COVID-19, and you guys have taken that day and flipped it upside down. And I'm sure
Merci.
that you do that for people every day that you do the work that you do. From the frontline workers there in New York to the people that just show up at your restaurant and are so desperate to do it again, to the folks who are on Pressoir Wine .wine right now. You guys really do an amazing job. Hand in hand, the charity CC Hand in Hand. Please go to Coravin.com, buy whatever you want. We're going to give 15% to the charity and 10% to you. If you can think of a better way to celebrate your mother, write me a note.
Yes.
Because I can't compare it to what you guys have done. It's such a spectacular meal. It's such an incredible set of wines that were poured with that meal. We are all lucky to have you in our presence. We are all happy that 1955 happened, that you guys were both born. I'm also a May 22nd. I turned 51, so 1969.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have a better year than me.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those things that COVID-19 makes us realize. There's so many good people in the world. Wine is a quality of life. Food is a quality of life. The frontline guys are making sure we stay alive, and you guys give us a reason to.
I know. And thank you, Greg, for getting us together. And thank you, Daniel, for your friendship and your loyalty and your trust in all those years. And I'm the co-president of City Milan Wheel. And of course, Hand in Hand touched me deeply because it's my team, and we really like to bring them as much support as possible. But every day, City Milan Wheel are distributing more than 20,000 meals every day to elderly New Yorkers. And I've been the co-president for a decade, and I'm supporting City Milan Wheel in this situation as well, and trying to rally restaurateur and chef to help me support them through Food First Foundation. And I just want to raise my glass to the team at City Milan Wheel also, because they're really special and they're working so hard. And they have, I think, 3,000 young volunteers right now distributing meals to the home of the elderly in New York every day. And those young volunteers, they are working in banks, working in offices, and working all over town, and they decided to help. So to them and to City Mill team, thank you for what you do every day.
Yeah, and to you guys. Cheers.
Yeah, I'd like to raise my glass also to, of course, you, Greg, for bringing us together today and giving us this opportunity. And Danielle, you know I love you, and it's been a long time, a long friendship, and it's always a pleasure doing things like this with you. So a toast to you, a toast to your mother. Give her my best.
Yes.
And also my team at Pressoir, amazing job making this happen. And at Pressoir, we've been doing events, and we've been giving funds to support the restaurant community. All of my friends in the sommelier community are out of work, and the restaurant industry is devastated. We're getting close to $25,000 in donation, which is a lot for a small company like mine. But Danielle, this has been great. We're going to do more, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we're all lucky to be with you people. Cheers. Wine
to my wife
together. It's the most social
to my mother,
beverage.
to all the wonderful mother in my life, and to all the wonderful mother. Happy Mother's Day.
To all
Day,
the
everybody.
mothers.
Make some vichyssoise.
Yeah.
Make some lamb navarin.
Lamb navarin, exactly. Oh man, I don't want to end this because you guys are so fantastic. Thank you so much for everything. Let's
and thank you for your team as well.
Yeah, the Coravin team is incredible. We're so lucky to have them. we can't wait till we see you guys in New York. Until the next time, huh?
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you.